All right. Let's make sure we actually started here. There it goes. I think we're live, guys. Or at the very least, we're very close to being live. Hey!
Oh, nice, with the Darkness 2 in the background there.
I thought that was pretty slick.
Yeah!
I felt good about that. Let's make sure I actually am saying
We're
something.
very close
to being live. Yeah,
hey,
cool. We're up.
Oh,
And I have audio. All right. Oh, guys. So who is ready to talk about the darkness?
let's do it. I'm still not seeing your video in Skype, but
Really?
let's do it. Yep.
That's
I'm getting spinny ball.
weird. Scott, you see my video in
Yep.
Skype? Okay.
Yep.
Weird.
Whatever.
Yeah. I got two webcams hooked up, so things are weird right now. All right. So I guess we will start. Yeah, we can get going. For everyone just joining us, this is TVGP Game Club recap number 21 for The Darkness 2.
Yes, it's the darkness.
Yes, monkey.
Yes, monkey. So this month we sort of changed things up a little bit. We decided to go with a theme, seeing as it's October and Halloween, well, was not really right around the corner, but looming on the horizon, let's say. We went with, we put together a list of suggestions from the forum of horror games. We had a pretty wide array of suggestions, and unfortunately it kind of came down to the wire of the beginning of October, so we ended up just sort of picking a game.
There was a military armed revolt and a coup.
Yes, there was.
Overthrew the democracy.
We did. We really should have streamed that. I don't know why we didn't.
The revolution will not be televised.
But it will be broadcast on YouTube.
We should call this episode The Darkness.
We really should.
Because he just decreed it.
Yeah. So anyway, we went with The Darkness 2 for a number of reasons. I think the main one was that it really does fit the bill of a game club game.
It was perfect.
It really is. So The Darkness came out in... ooh, hold on, I'm looking at the wrong one here. There we go. The Darkness 2 is the sequel to the 2007 game, The Darkness. So The Darkness 2 came out, was this 5 years after the original? 2012 to 2007? Yeah, so got a good 5-year gap between these two games. And for all intents and purposes, this game may very well have never existed. And according to the sales numbers, it may actually have not existed.
They just made the logo and called it a day.
Yeah. So this came out in February of 2012, which was sort of, if I remember correctly, like 2012, or maybe it was a few years prior to that. That was sort of the year that like the post-Christmas game became a big deal. Like I think the first big one to do it was like Dead Space 2, I want to say. That came out in like March or something.
Yeah, I still don't understand how publishers and developers haven't realized that there are other points in the year which people will buy video games. It doesn't have to just be in October.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be at the end of quarter one, and it doesn't always have to be at the end of quarter four.
Right.
There are two whole other quarters, guys. So Darkness 2 came out February 7th, 2012 in North America, February 10th in Europe and Australia, and February 23rd in Japan, where I'm sure it did not sell any copies at all. Or at the very least close to zero.
I mean, not that I'm like the connoisseur of video games or anything, but I didn't even realize The Darkness had a sequel.
Yeah?
That's how under the radar this was. So
that's
suggesting The Darkness 2, I was like, that's a thing?
Yeah. So for the uninitiated, The Darkness is based off of a comic book series that came about in, I believe, the mid-90s. It was sort of that group of like comics that was at the time you had like Spawn and you had like Witchblade and you had all these very dark, quote-unquote, edgy, gritty comic books coming out from, such names as Todd McFarlane and, oh God, who's that really terrible artist that worked for
the guy who puts muscles where muscles don't belong?
Rob Liefeld. There it is.
There you go.
Yeah. We call them pouches and muscles.
totally on the wrong track there.
Yeah, he's just awful. Just look up some of his artwork. It's just he can't draw feet. That's the thing to look for.
I had a buddy who went to see him at Comic-Con. I guess he was doing a signing.
Yeah.
And he had him sign Grey's Anatomy.
like I almost wish it was like a DVD copy of the show and not the actual book, because I think that would be taking it a step further.
I think he just wanted to verify that the guy had actually seen the book.
Nice. Very nice. So anyway, based on a comic book series published by Top Cow, it's actually pretty good compared to a lot of the schlock that came out in the mid-90s. I suggest you check it out. It's got a pretty decent storyline. And that has been put to really great use in 2 separate video games. Like I said, this is a sequel to the original Darkness, which was, I believe, I don't know if it was a launch game, but it was really, no, it wasn't a launch game.
It wasn't a launch.
It was a couple years after launch. It was 2 years after the 360 launch and just a little over a year after the PS3 launch. And it came out on both. And it was one of those games that no one really played, but everyone who played it really loved. I remember really distinctly enjoying this game because of the original game, because of a few things. There was a scene in the original where you were meeting up with the whole basis of the plot in the beginning of the game. The first one is it's your 21st birthday, and that's when this dark power of the darkness takes you over. But before that happens, you go and meet up with your girlfriend, and you can literally sit down in that game and watch an entire movie sitting next to her. You watch, I believe it's To Kill a Mockingbird, and they actually licensed the rights to put the movie in the game. Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a couple other ones too. I think Popeye.
Oh,
there's a couple of Popeye cartoons.
I could have sworn To Kill a Mockingbird wasn't public domain yet. Oh,
really?
Well, yeah.
You know, maybe it is. I know they licensed a bunch of songs for the new one.
Yeah.
New one, whatever.
So anyway, it was a very cinematic first-person game. It did have its issues, but it was a lot of fun. It had a great story, and in the end, it was a surprising sleeper hit that unfortunately not a ton of people played. Fast forward,
Hannah.
Yeah.
Hang on, you played the game, the original Darkness.
Yes.
JZ, did you play?
I got probably about 3 hours into it 5 years ago, and went, yeah, this one's not for me.
Fair enough.
So I only remember playing a demo.
Okay.
And it took place, I want to say, I remember like a graveyard for some reason, or a street. And I was kind of like Jay-Z. I was just kind of like, there's nothing overly special about this.
Yeah.
And I never finished the demo and never had an interest in buying the game.
Yeah, it didn't get good until you really got into it. It was one of those. The original came out when I was still working video game retail, so I was playing video games borderline constantly. So even at work, because work was games.
Well, it still had a lot of the cool sort of action sequences that we saw in the second one here.
Big set pieces.
Yeah, car chases, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they're in a boat at some point.
Yep. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy, and it's also got the nice otherworldly magic stuff happening on the back end. But we're here to talk about The Darkness 2, which is the really unlikely follow-up to the first game. Like, I don't understand how this game ever got made. I'm not complaining by any means. I'm just really, really confused as to how someone managed to get this game made.
It does beg the question. I mean, the first one wasn't maybe a terrible game. Although the word of mouth about it was people like it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games that you never would have dreamed would have been enough to have a sequel.
Maybe it's a sort of Demon Souls, Dark Souls thing where so many people love Demon Souls that they knew they had enough of a following to make not a sequel, but they knew they had enough of a following to make another one. And in the meantime, everyone had heard about it, and it just blew up. Although I guess Darkness 2 didn't blow up too much, but maybe it's
I was
that sort of
say
same setup.
this is not a Dark Souls Demon Souls story.
No.
They will start with Dark.
They do. They certainly do. So, I mean, this isn't an old game. This game came out in 2012, and I remember hearing about it and being like, "They made a sequel. Okay, all right, I'll try that out." And I remember when it first came out a couple years back, I did play a little bit of it. I played maybe 2 hours of it, and I got to a point where I got distracted by a bunch of random stuff. There's a point where you go back to sort of the central mission hub in the game, and there's a bunch of people to talk to and a bunch of stuff to do. And I got distracted talking to people and doing stuff in there, and turned
Central
off
Mission Hub.
in the well, sort of in the very beginning of the game, the mansion.
Yeah.
So
I
like
don't remember ever getting distracted. It felt on rails. I don't ever remember there
Really?
being a point.
No,
So-
there's sort of in
yeah.
between, not for all missions, but for the early ones.
Yeah.
You would go back to your sort of penthouse, giant mansion apartment,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
could talk to your aunt and all your cronies and mob buddies, and like the
I mean, I did that in
collectibles
about
all get stored in your
10 minutes.
bedroom. I skip most of it too, but there's stuff to do.
So, and this is just a testament to my ADD. There's a mini game where you can shoot bottles,
Yeah.
and I got distracted doing that. Turned it off, came back to it, and was like, I don't remember what I was doing, and just turned it off forever because that's just how my brain works. But I remember enjoying the gunplay and really enjoying specifically the quad wielding mechanic, as they called it in this, where you can dual wield guns and you've got the two darkness tentacles up here that sort of allow you to have basically 4 attacks going at once if you want.
I can't wait for someone to mispronounce tentacles.
Yeah, that's going to be real fun. So this
Are you
was...
talking about Skype hitching? Oh, because Skype hitches for me every 30 seconds to 60 seconds, so I just missed what you said.
Okay. Well, I was referring to the quad wielding mechanic.
Which is odd because, not to jump ahead too much, I guess. We'll
Yeah.
talk about this in a minute. But I ended up having to put the game down in the middle of the month for maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I played at the very beginning of the month and then took a break and then played here at the end. And when I came back, I was like, what is all this? what,
Yeah,
what do these
definitely.
fingers do?
It is a bit overwhelming to come back to that kind of control scheme and be like, okay, this one shoots a gun, this one shoots a gun, and these two do something. I'll figure it out as I go. And then you die. So The Darkness 2 was developed by Digital Extremes, which was actually an offshoot of, not really an offshoot, but they worked heavily with Epic Games on almost all the Unreal games. They're listed as developing the Mac and Windows versions of the original Unreal. They're also listed as the Dreamcast, Linux, Mac, PS2, and Windows developer of Unreal Tournament. The Linux, Mac, and Windows version of Unreal Tournament 2003 and 2004. So as far as shooters go, these guys know what they're doing, which is, I mean, it definitely shows in the game. I mean, the gunplay, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I greatly enjoyed it.
I would have liked some iron sights. I found myself kind of tossing away that second weapon quite a bit because I
Yeah?
felt like I couldn't hit anybody from more than about 10 feet away.
What do you mean tossing away?
You,
What do you mean
Well-
tossing away?
Like, you have your two-handed weapons,
Yeah.
and then you have your pistols.
yeah.
I forget what it was now, but I know there was a way to, if you were dual wielding, drop one of the pistols.
What do you mean by drop? Because I carried 2 pistols with me throughout most of the game, but yet I almost never dual wielded.
Yeah.
Oh, then I'm sorry. Maybe it was switching to the single version of the dual wielding.
Yeah, you can hit. So I was playing on PC, but on a 360 controller. So the D-pad is where all your weapons are mapped, and if you
Yeah.
hit left or right on the D-pad, it would go to the single weapon, whichever weapon you had on that side. So I would have like a submachine gun on the left side and a pistol on the right side.
Yeah.
And if you hit down on the D-pad, it would equip both of them and allow you to dual wield. And then you had just a single weapon at top, which is like a two-handed weapon. I think there was a couple
Mostly
of
shotguns.
shotguns. There's a couple of assault rifles. There's a couple of just straight-up rifles that were pretty interesting as well.
So I don't know. I didn't find myself overly compelled with the selection of weapons. It was pretty standard fare. We covered
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
A pistol, a submachine gun. I think, from my opinion of this game in general, this is the best average game I've played in a very long time.
Okay.
There isn't
I
anything
like that.
there's anything that is absolutely over the top outstanding about it,
Yeah.
but there isn't anything absolutely god awful about it.
No,
It
not
is
at all.
a great average game.
You know what? I almost completely agree with that assessment. I think it's got some really great moments. I just
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
which we'll get into in a minute. But I just wanted to briefly talk about the publisher, which is 2K Games, which I think is why this got made. 2K seems to be pretty cool about stuff like this. I mean, just the amount of. I mean, these are the guys that put out Borderlands and just a billion different games at any given time, and they just. You know
I would
what?
think our audience knows who 2K is.
I would hope so. And they just, you know what? They have the money, and they probably were just like, hey, Darkness 2? All right, let's take a chance on it.
I would love to know. It almost feels like a pet project by somebody.
It does. It really
Yeah,
does.
Like, there's a team lead who really loved the first one and was like, oh, we could do a great job on this. And all right, well, take a year, and here's a tenth of the budget of what we would toss on Borderlands. So here's your 6 guys, and go to it.
Well, I mean, the first one, the original, was published by 2K as well, but the developer was Starbreeze, which are the guys who did the Riddick game, Escape from Butcher Bay.
That explains why the models look the way they do. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they use the same engine or a similar engine. Yeah, they use the Starbreeze engine on both. But I think that was sort of why the first one got made, because they're like, oh, well, we've got this tech, and this game sort of fits in that tech because you're shooting out lights. The Riddick game is all about stealth. The first game was sort of about stealth, not really. But it was a good use of that tech, and I think I'm still grasping for how the sequel got made. I would really love if anyone, a long shot here, but if anyone knows someone at 2K or someone that can, or like if there's an article out there on like Gama Sutra or something that's like, how did the Darkness 2 get made? That would be awesome. I would love to read that. I would love to hear that. But yeah, I mean, you guys know who, the developers and the publishers are fairly well known. They've done some pretty big things. So let's talk about the game. What did you? So Scott, we'll start with you. Just hold on, I'm losing everything here. Everything is just closing,
including your religion.
Well, yeah.
If you Google
that's a whole.
How did the Darkness 2 get made? It's nothing but Star Trek Into Darkness, Army of Darkness, Star Trek, Army, Star Trek.
Yeah, that seems about right. So, yeah, we'll start with first hour takeaways. What was your overall impression of the first hour, Scott?
Well, that first hour contains that opening scene where you're walking into the, is it a bar or a restaurant?
That's a restaurant, I believe. Yep. Yeah.
And everyone is very, very nice to you. And having not played the original Darkness, and only having watched maybe half of the cutscenes that I posted in the thread, I kind of got the idea that I had obtained some sort of mob boss status, and then this was kind of picking up from that.
Yeah.
So getting led to a table and set down, and then having the girl's head explode, or the guy's head explode.
No, that was one of the twins' heads explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great, because you got a spare.
Yes, you do. But not for long, because here comes a car.
Oh, right.
I went, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fantastic. And then what I loved even more about it was that it didn't automatically pop you up and you have to blaze yourself through the restaurant.
No.
They crippled you. They injured your leg, and then the game starts out with you not even mobile. You get dragged.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was... We talked about, this is a very average game, and the shooting very average, the guns are very average. The story is very average.
Yeah.
In fact, not telepathic. Telegraphing sort of where it was going. But man, there's some really great moments, and I thought this was one of them. Starting their game off with you being dragged around and having them to shoot people as you're getting dragged back out of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And the then using that on fire, and it's the dudes are pouring in, and there's carnage happening around you. Like,
yeah,
it felt like a Disney ride, except from hell.
Disney ride.
Like it's a small world after all with bullets.
No, you're right on.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And then to use that, obviously the lake thing then became a plot device because the darkness comes back and knits you back together.
Yeah. Which sort of sets up a couple things that happen later in the game. Just like
Which would
not really sets up, but like it gives you just like, okay, this is what the darkness can do. It's a really tight scene. Like you get the introduction to the shooting and the weapon handling in a somewhat controlled environment because you're basically on rails at that point.
yeah. And what I thought was great is that it did a good job of bringing. Oh, we totally skipped one thing. We'll have
What's
to back
that?
up.
Okay.
Johnny.
Oh
We'll back
yeah,
up.
yeah.
So it did a great job of bringing somebody like me who had never played the darkness. Sort of, here's what you need to know, and I kind of filled in the gaps. Like I filled in the fact that I was a mob boss, and I filled in that the darkness had been away from what's our main character's name?
Jackie Estacado.
Yeah, Jackie.
Yep.
Had been away from
Sorry.
Jackie. It filled in sort of those gaps in an entertaining way.
Mm-hmm.
And I said we have to bring up Johnny because when it started, the game gives you a choice. Hey, do you want to recap, or do you want to just jump in? Which I thought was a good thing to do. And then the way they recapped was great, using Johnny's character to give you the backstory.
Yeah.
Was good because at that point I had no idea who Johnny was, but has since become one of my favorite video game characters, maybe of all time.
Really?
Oh, he's fantastic.
I do enjoy his presence in the game. I will, full disclosure here, I didn't finish the game. I got probably about halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through, and just sort of didn't have the time, unfortunately.
Did you finish it, Jay-Z?
I did. And I didn't know who you were talking about when you were talking about Johnny, because I just referred to him as Old Blue Eye.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
His pupils are two completely different sizes.
Yeah, he looks like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, only a lot less healthy.
So that first
Marilyn cancer?
that first hour did so much so right.
Yeah, it really did.
Do you have anything to add about that first hour, Jay-Z?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, it was number one on my list, and it's Mike F. Patton, except I finished his middle name. Just awesome. Mike Patton from Faith No More is the voice of the darkness, and I was watching a video online of sort of him doing his lines in the studio, and really they put some reverb on it, but pretty much that's just Mike Patton doing a voice.
That's crazy.
Mike Patton is one of the... If you've not listened to Faith No More, or if you are into something a little bit heavier, maybe check out his other project, Mr. Bungle. He has one of those voices. He's like... So you know how Jim Carrey was always told, oh, your face is made of rubber? Mike Patton's voice is Jim Carrey's face. That's the best way I can describe it. He's got an extraordinarily flexible voice. He's got some, I forget how big his range is, but he's got some crazy range on him. He can hit these super low notes. He can get super high. Just a phenomenal vocalist, and really a great choice for the darkness.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do some more voice work.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of a little bit after the restaurant scene.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice they got, and I don't know how many times you guys saw this because you didn't make it all the way through the game necessarily, but they've got a lot of mileage out of that coughing up blood texture. Like, he coughs up blood onto the floor, and it looks like when you do a spray in Counter-Strike and all of a sudden the decal is just on the wall.
Yeah.
I think he coughed up blood probably 5 times. It was the exact same pool of blood. It was like, really, guys?
Man, I did not notice that.
That's the kind of asset reuse I can get behind.
I checked. I saw there was DLC for it, and I was like, they did DLC for this game?
That's
I went on the Steam page. The DLC is buy a 4-pack. So there's that.
Somebody play this game. That's what the DLC is.
Buy a 4-pack.
Buy 3 more copies of this game.
Oh.
To gift to friends.
Yeah, I looked at the DLC on the Xbox, and it's nothing but Avatar clothing and gamer picks.
This came out at like the peak of that.
Oh my god.
So after you get out of the restaurant and actually get into sort of where you can actually utilize the darkness, and game was a lot harder than I expected it to be. Even all controls issues aside, I was playing on normal and I died a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I
wait a
did not have
minute.
that
I get
problem.
one of my minor complaints, because you just reminded me, is the difficulty selection. Because it's not easy, normal, and hard.
Yeah.
It's monkey and vampire and destroyer or something.
Yeah.
I mean, they're names that meant nothing to me. So I cycled through. I assumed it started like with the middle one, and then the problem was I cycled through them and got lost, and I couldn't remember what the middle one was anymore.
Mm.
So I had to go to the internet and Google the difficulty levels to figure out what difficulty level to play on. And I played on the normal, the middle. And I died, but I didn't die like a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe I just was fighting what the game wanted me to do, but I was dying a bunch.
Mm.
I probably bit it like 35 times in my playthrough.
I was actually surprised by how generous that it felt like to me that I would lose from, like, say, full health to half health or even a quarter health really fast. But then once I would go past a quarter health, it almost felt like the game kind of took pity on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran my health bar way down, like a tank of gas, way down on empty.
Yeah, that's what exactly I was going to say. It
You
sounds,
run on fumes.
yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I did that a lot. And I almost, to the point that I felt like the game was kind of taking pity on me.
Yeah, I don't know if it was taking pity on you necessarily, or if it was just I couldn't tell you, but I didn't have a lot of trouble with the difficulty. I mean, I died a few times, but I was always generally able to save myself by like hitting a dude with the demon arm, picking him up, and doing a health execution on him.
And I always thought it was really fair too. When I died, I never got to a point where I was like, "Oh, this game, quit it." It was always like, "Oh, well, I'm an idiot for doing that."
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I walked right into that spotlight. That
Exactly.
was my fault.
Yeah, it never felt cheap.
No, which is always good. You always want that in a difficulty.
Did you all notice the health too? Your health is a circle,
Yeah.
but it's quartered, and I like the way it regens.
Hmm.
So each quarter is kind of like its own segment, and your health will regen within that quarter.
Yeah.
But once
But
you
only
lose that
to
quarter,
that,
it's
right.
gone.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting touch. It really made it a little bit more difficult to, like, you had to go and, like, it forced you to use like the health execution.
Yeah, I
where
wish
you-
other games would adopt this, because one of the things that's very video gamey sometimes is to, whittle your health all the way down and then go hide behind a barrel.
Yeah,
And you sit there for 2 minutes and your health comes back.
yeah,
But,
like
you know,
you're
this-
Popeye and you just pop some spinach.
Yeah, this gets around that. I mean, yes, you get some regen, but you don't regenerate everything. So it
No.
forces you to go out and, do a health execution or something.
Batman does that. Didn't it? Didn't Arkham Asylum do that?
I
Been
don't
too
remember.
long, so yeah, haven't
Yep.
played that in forever.
Hey, what path did you guys go down for the upgrades?
Oh, that's a good question.
I sort of just chose what I thought would be fun at the time. I didn't get the swarm move or the what's the other one, the darkness gun move, until like probably halfway through the game. So I was like, oh, these executions are really fun. I'm gonna run around and just smack people with the demon arm and kill them. More health, and I want to get more ammo, and I just want to mow through guys.
What about you, Scott?
Well, you got me thinking now. I maxed out. I think that I sort of had to play around at first because I had no idea which path to go down.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking and maxing out, I think, the one with the black hole first.
Oh, nice.
That black hole was fun.
Because I found that really useful. I also went after the weapons, like
Mhm.
larger clips.
Yeah.
What I did not do was the swarm and the charge shot. Is that what it's called?
It's like darkness charge or something like that. It basically lets you. You hit Y and you're just channeling the darkness energy through your guns for a little while instead of burning ammo.
Right. I didn't
Yeah.
use. I unlocked those two things, but I didn't go any further up that tree.
Yeah,
I
same
didn't
here.
find them useful enough to do that.
I think I upgraded Swarm's duration so that it lasted a little bit longer to make that a little more worth my while, but that was about it.
Wow, I feel like Swarm to start with lasted a really long, almost overpowered amount of time.
That's how I like my video game characters. Way, way overpowered. I mean, you're carrying around this ancient evil. Shouldn't you be just wiping the floor with these dudes?
Just bugs.
Yeah.
What was interesting is I felt like I was sort of this ancient evil wiping the floor with the dudes.
Yeah.
And it was only until it was the point at which they start shining light back on you
Yeah.
that I felt like, oh, they're fighting me back.
Yeah, that
So I don't know,
got.
I had that feeling when I was playing. I felt like I was a badass that was overpowered and
Oh yeah, which is really nice. But then, like you said, you get to those that new set of enemies once that that sort of that plot point hits where you meet the real bad guy, and his group of people have these giant light cannons shooting at you.
And can teleport. Why can't I teleport?
That was that was a really good question.
was that ever explained in any way?
Nope.
I mean, I guess they're using, what is it, the Cirrus, whatever the angel version of the darkness is.
Cygnus?
Oh, Angelus.
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 Maybe they're using the Angelus power. I don't know. I hand waved it away, but I was like, come on, I want to teleport.
I could see why they wouldn't allow the player character to do that, because that could be really disorienting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose you'd have to really kind of do another once-over on your architecture to make sure people couldn't get out of where you didn't want them to go.
Yeah, and really the only way to pull that off would be like, oh, here's a bullet time mechanic.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
That's the only way that works.
Yeah. So anybody got anything to add to the first hour?
Oh, one little nitpicky thing.
Yep.
Because they focus so much on you, like, you gotta stay out of the light. Like, the darkness will yell at you, like, stay out of the light. Like,
Yeah.
anytime you even go, like, if you see a light 3 blocks down, like, it's already pissed.
Yeah.
So I was being nitpicky and just going, like, do muzzle flashes not exist anymore? Because I would think if you don't like light, you probably shouldn't be in gunfights.
Yeah,
I'm being picky.
you can break the game with that logic. I mean, there's plenty of light in the game.
Oh yeah, because you have to be able to see.
So
I'd just being whiny. That's
no,
all I had.
I do agree with that. It became sort of difficult because you would occasionally encounter like a light that was you couldn't quite tell the source. You had to sort of browse for a minute, and by the time you figured out the source, the darkness was like, "Get out of there! Get out!
Yeah.
This is terrible." And then you had the lights that were caged and hooked up to a power source, and you had to destroy the power source instead of just shooting out the bulb.
How did we
was-
not
That
bring
might
up
be-
the Darkling?
I was gonna say
yeah.
the lights might be the most video game thing in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Who in the world lights their buildings like that?
Mm.
I'm gonna put a big spotlight and then I'm gonna run this big hose around the door through a room to a giant generator.
Yeah, that is running, just constantly running, just always.
It might be the biggest video gamey thing about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Running generators inside is generally a good idea.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, that too. We'll put 4 of them right here.
The whole game's actually just a hallucination because you're puffing gasoline fumes.
You're dying as carbon monoxide poisoning.
I'd play that. But yeah, it sounds like that's pretty much it for the first hour.
How did we not bring up the Darkling yet?
I don't know.
He was awesome.
He's
was
not there. He's not there right away.
No, he's not. He's a little ways in. Not a little, maybe like first half hour of the game. He's in there.
All right, well we can move him on then.
Yeah. So let's start with Jay-Z. What were your favorite moments or favorite features?
I'm sorry, Skype cut out. What's it?
I was gonna
What-
say you're gonna have to repeat that. Skype
Of
froze.
course. What are your favorite moments or the great features of this game?
Well, first and foremost, there were some really good sort of scenes. I did have some sort of funny ideas about it. One is that this whole game, your girlfriend, fiance, whoever, Jenny, longtime girlfriend, grew up in the orphanage together, love of your life, got killed in the first one. The darkness basically made you watch her get killed by the guy you ultimately kill at the end of the game, who's running the mob.
Yeah, that was, by the way, in the first game, that was the most difficult scene to watch in that game. Because it is absolutely brutal.
It's rough.
Yeah.
So she basically, the whole thing is that the way that the darkness gets you to sort of do its bidding is it tells you that it has Jenny's soul trapped in hell. So if you do what it wants you to do, that's the only way you're ever going to get a chance to save her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Vinny, Jackie's main motivation in the game. So whenever he dies and he's sort of hallucinating, or spoilers, or what at certain points in the game you hallucinate Jenny, and one of them is sort of a flashback to when you went to meet her at her job. She was closing up a restaurant or diner or whatever, and you guys dance and then you kiss, but it's all in first person. And I gotta say, first-person kissers are not gonna catch on, because that was weird as hell.
It was just sort of her face just kind of got really, really close to the screen.
It
was really bizarre.
It was kind of like that.
I mean, I see what they were trying to do, and the mood worked. It was well written. Like it would have worked great, except it was all in first person.
The kiss was bonkers.
It really was.
The thing is, though, video game kissing is always bonkers. I mean, anytime they try to make two people get together and dance or kiss, they end up.
The dancing was going okay, though. Like she has her head on your shoulder, and it doesn't. She's not clipping through your shirt,
which is nice. That's a nice change.
So yeah, there was that stuff. I had a couple of questions that I was just sort of asking myself out loud as I went through it. A, who has a night funeral? Like,
I didn't hear the question. Skype cut out.
Who has a night funeral? Like when your aunt kicks the bucket, they just put her out in the graveyard in the middle of the night. It's like, all right, let's do this, guys. It's raining. I don't care.
Apparently Catholics, but I can disprove that in about a minute.
I've been to lots of daytime Catholic funerals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to wakes at night. I've never been to a funeral at night.
So let's talk about the funeral, though.
And how crazy that was.
That is one of the great set pieces of this.
Yeah.
Is showing up to that cemetery and walking around. And I think the ambiance there is fantastic, where everybody is consoling you or giving their condolences and stuff. I did not see that when you're there in front of the coffin. Obviously I knew something was going to happen because it's a game. But I did not see them tipping over the coffin and spilling her out.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
That was awesome.
Yeah. That was, and she's just there and she's just like,
oh, we just got naked gunned.
Yeah.
And then there's a fight in the cemetery there.
Yeah, and you're trolling through the cemetery, you're like grabbing stone like crests off of mausoleums and just chucking them at dudes and killing people with gravestones and stuff.
How much did you all chuck things?
As often as possible, because it was super sweet.
I was a chucking machine.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I ended up running out of things to chuck pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And just resorting to the fact that I had a gun in my hand and shooting people. So I ended up having to really force myself to chuck things.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose your microphone there?
Yeah, Jay-Z's little rubber band trick did not work.
Sorry.
That's a shame.
Good thought, Jay-Z, but
so yeah, that was a cool little set piece.
Yeah.
I don't know that I loved chasing the guy through the cemetery for as long as he had to, but
no,
whatever.
It went on too long. You're right.
But
that battle at the end, I liked.
That was cool.
When you catch up with him and he's doing his teleportation, around you.
Yeah.
I really had to rely on my surround sound.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was a benefit in that battle. He would disappear and flash somewhere, and then being able to kind of hear him show up in a channel.
I bet that would have been real helpful, because I had a lot of trouble finding him.
That's why I wore these the whole time. It was real easy with headphones on.
Oh, fool me once.
Yeah.
And I think right after that level, it's the carnival, right?
Yes.
I loved the carnival.
That's where I think that's where I'm at right now in the game. I haven't finished. I got through the first 2 sections of the carnival.
Was one of those where you ride through the fun house?
I was going to say, is that the fun house ride?
I didn't get to the fun house.
Might be the best part of the whole game.
Oh, I'm right there too. I wish I was going to get up early this morning and play a little bit more just to have a little bit more, but I didn't have time.
That's on my checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anything, if you're gonna play one more piece of this game, just beat the carnival level because you get in like a haunted house ride, where it's a car. You sit in the car with Jenny, who Jackie apparently really thinks is still real and talking to him. Like, this guy's a mob boss. How is he this dumb? But anyway,
I disagree with that. He's not dumb.
He's just in love.
Come on, he's been possessed by this demonic power of sorts.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
And the guy's hallucinating Jenny, and you have a problem with that?
Well, when you know you've taken a evil demon entity into you that can control your mind, and then your dead girlfriend shows up, that's probably going to be my first guess.
Yeah, you usually try and put 2 to 2 together there, but you never can. I mean, you've been possessed, right? Right?
A handful of times, but not long enough to have a dead girlfriend,
Okay, anyway, that doesn't even begin to touch the carnival level.
Yeah.
So go on, Jay-Z.
Anyway, two other things I liked. It's got a new Game Plus, which are always awesome when it comes to games where you upgrade yourself.
Wait a minute. Skype flipped out again.
Yeah.
When did we stop talking about the carnival level?
Oh, I thought we were done with it. You were telling me to shut up about dead girlfriends.
Yeah, but I wanted you to continue talking about the carnival level.
It literally becomes a rail shooter because you're in this house of horrors.
Nice.
But that's not a fair representation of how awesome that scene is.
Well, because it's a Disney ride, except you come across the most gory, horrifying execution scenes, and it's
okay.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have to clarify a tick, because you get in this ride and you start out in the cheesiest haunted house type of thing that you can imagine.
Yeah.
The most country fair-esque cheap trick attraction. But then it will splice in, so you'll go riding along and there'll be this gruesome torture scene.
Yeah.
And then out from that gruesome torture scene of these really dummy looking things will step a real person with a gun and start shooting at you.
Oh God.
So you're shooting up a haunted house. Yeah.
Yes, but it's mixed so well with the fake part of the haunted house, right? The attractions are mixed so well with the real quote unquote people.
Yeah.
Well, but the fake stuff looked so awesome. I guess maybe that's why I'm hitting that so hard, because it was like really kind of messed up stuff.
Unbelievably messed up. And I should have written it down because I don't remember exactly the things that were going on. But there's torture.
Well, there's an electrocution. There was a hanging. There was some gallows.
Of course.
Yeah, it was just unreal.
I'm excited to play this. Actually, I think that's what I'm gonna do this weekend.
You need to
finish.
the
I really want to finish this game because I really like it. It's so much easier when I get home from work to go downstairs, sit on my couch, and play Diablo until I pass out. Just loot.
So anyway, that was that. Unless you got anything else to add to the carnival, Scott.
Other than I didn't enjoy getting through the actual carnival part so much.
It felt very Left 4 Dead. Like Left 4 Dead did it better.
I don't know. To me, the game didn't shine at that point. It turned into very much a very average shooter level. I mean, it might have been the typical example. So I kind of see why, Hannah, you would have stopped playing at that point. Oh,
it was just because I had to go to work. That was the only reason I stopped playing. It's it's 7:30. I should leave.
But that level, in general, the carnival level isn't the best first-person shooter level. There are things that are really good, like the ride at the end is really great. Mm-hmm. And then there's some carnival games you play at various points where Jenny will show up and want you to win her something.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so great, the way they mixed his hallucination of Jenny in with, I guess you call it the reality of him going through this abandoned carnival.
Yeah. It's just, I loved the different set pieces that they had in this game. Like we already covered the restaurant, the cemetery, and the carnival, but my personal favorite was just the mansion that sort of acted as your mission hub at the beginning of the game. I really loved, because you really got the sense of, wow, Jackie really lifted himself up in this place, and
brother's getting paid.
Yeah, it sort of gave credence to his I'm a mob boss thing, instead of just flinging you from mission to mission. It would be like, okay, you go here, you've got this sort of hub where you got all these characters and you can get some background, or not. You can just go straight to the mission. One of my favorite things about that, though, was Aunt Sarah, and just stopping and talking to this tough old lady who has seen mob dudes come in and out, and just has stories, and is just she's the coolest aunt you never had.
Yeah, she'll bake you a pie and hide a gun in it to get you out of prison.
Yes, she absolutely would do that, and I have the very distinct feeling that she absolutely had done that at some point.
I did not talk to her very much.
Oh, that's a shame. That is, she's probably my favorite character next to
Really?
I think you said Johnny.
I just didn't have an overwhelming urge to have a big long dialogue with her for some reason.
Fair enough.
Like she asked early on, I think when you first talked to her, she asked about opening up to her with Jenny, about Jenny, and I was like, nah.
That's just me. I'll just talk to anybody,
So yeah, the set pieces were really cool. I liked that there was a New Game Plus, so you could keep your upgrades and play through again.
Yeah.
And then something that just jumped out that I really didn't expect was in the multiplayer character select screen, Black Number 1 by Typo Negative is playing on the jukebox while you're picking your character. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Okay. First question is, there's a multiplayer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's multiplayer.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Well, that's why they have 4-packs. It's
Oh.
sort of a mission-based. Each class, it's kind of Left 4 Dead-y. Everyone has to pick one of the really kind of racist stereotype characters. And then you have to go. Oh God, I forget what they're called. They're like mayhem missions or something like that.
Vendetta missions.
Vendettas.
Yeah.
You have to go kill this guy or get this info or money or whatever. I only played the one. I played it solo and died a bunch and kind of gave up on it. But yeah, it's cool. They got the cool leveling up mechanics and stuff like that there too, and everyone's got their own powers, and it's cool.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
What about you, Hannah?
Oh God! Like I said, I unfortunately didn't finish the game. So as far as features, I really loved the ability to just utilize your environment when they set it up properly. There's one boss fight that I really enjoyed. The first major boss fight where you're fighting the dude in a crane who's just trying to kill you with a wrecking ball.
I did not enjoy that one.
Really?
That
what
was
I
not
did
my
not
favorite
enjoy is I lost track of that wrecking ball.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
We
got
got
my
to keep some
lead,
perspective though.
Yeah, it's weird the things you pick up on. Like I said, I played this game almost entirely with headphones on instead of speakers, so you could hear that thing swinging on whatever side of you it was on.
I just couldn't get the timing down of when he was swinging.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
So-
sort of weird.
I don't know. It was just a little hiccup that I had, and again, I got to keep some perspective because it's not like it's terrible. It's not game breaking. At no point did I feel like I'm not going anymore.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, but the other thing I loved was you'd pick up you'd be in half-finished buildings and there'd be circular saw blades sitting around and just chunks of rebar and pipe.
Man, were those circular saw blades or the size of those things though?
Oh yeah, those
They were like
monstrous.
lumber mill saw blades.
Yeah, exactly.
But you could cut through if the dudes were grouped close enough together, you could just cut down 5 or 6 guys with one chuck of one of those things.
But I like that they all had the little names on them, like they did in was it Bulletstorm?
Oh yeah.
Where you got the wishbone where you lift the guy up from both his ankles and spin him apart, and he just kind of pulls apart wishbone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what they called the one for whipping something through a guy.
Oh, I don't remember, impalement or something like that.
Should have written those down too.
Yeah, those
Impalement
were
was impaling somebody against a wall or something.
Yeah, that was. I love a game that lets you do that. That's why I love the first Painkiller game, because you had the stake gun and you just stick dudes to walls.
Yup.
This one you had chunks of rebar and pipes that you were throwing those things at 300 miles an hour and just wrecking dudes and sticking them to walls. That's my favorite feature. It's just any time and it was intuitive. You would see the thing, you'd hit the left bumper, and it'd pick it up and just left bumper again after you aim, and just boom. I thought it worked really well.
Now you're a painting.
Yeah, pretty much.
How much did you all use shields?
I threw them at people.
Yeah, that's
I cut a lot of dudes in half with car doors, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that was my usual strategy. I would sort of, if there was a bunch of dudes, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to move forward with this car door in front of me. I might take a couple of pot shots, take one or two of the guys out, and wait for them to sort of regroup, and then get two of them with the car door, and then gun the last one down with a shotgun or something.
I didn't feel like the shields did much.
They didn't.
I'd put one in front of me, and I'd still get hurt.
It was great when they did the first time you grab one tutorial, here's what these are supposed to do. You were basically a golden god with this car door in front of you, and then every time after that, you might as well have been holding up tissue paper.
Yeah. That was a little rough. But I mean, this game's just got some great mechanics to it. It doesn't have, I wouldn't say it's got, it's average mechanics, but they're really solid. Like, I didn't have issues.
It's a really great average game.
Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. So what could have been better?
I don't have much on this list of what could have been better.
Really?
You say that like it's a surprise. There
I
are
got
some
a couple
moments.
of things.
There are some moments that are a little too long. We touched on them already. I thought the carnival section was a little bland, and I thought the funeral, the chase to the cemetery went on just a little long.
Yeah.
But not something I would even consider, or really would even say is a negative.
Yeah. I felt like there was some content cut in the middle. So when you first meet, what's his name, Victor, and he's got you, staked up to, it looked like a cross to me. It looked like he'd been crucified.
You were.
Yeah.
When you get out of that, and then you have to go rescue your dudes, at the end of that scene where you bust in and you're trying to save Aunt Sarah, and you get shot in the face, the only thing they do with that is skip ahead 4 days. I feel like there should have been some sort of something happening mentally for Jay. Like, there should have been a level like the original. In the original Darkness, there's a point where I think you either get really badly injured or you get trapped or something, and the Darkness keeps you alive by, like, taking you back to World War One.
Well, they do something like that here.
I was gonna say
for the asylum.
That's what they did. They put you in the asylum, right?
Did you not see that?
That's the point at which the asylum.
Is that the point where they did? I felt like that just skipped ahead though. Like, there wasn't any. What I'm saying, it was basically like a glorified cutscene. Like, I would have liked a little more gameplay behind.
I don't
that.
remember it being that way. I remember
it pays out.
I'm trying to remember.
I remember it being in the asylum, and then, man, all of that asylum stuff is gold.
That was really good storytelling.
Isn't that the point though, where it reveals that Jenny's the nurse, and then
Right.
Maybe I'm thinking.
you really start putting
the
the pieces. You really start putting the pieces together that this is sort of an alternate reality in a sense.
Well, this is the prison the Darkness is putting you in while it heals.
But you don't know that at the time.
You figure it out real quick, though.
But what they do though is such a good job of trying to convince you otherwise.
Well, yes, but it's methinks the lady doth protest too much, in that they drop so many red herrings that it's obvious they're all red herrings. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I don't know that I was completely fooled that I don't think I ever bought into the fact that the asylum parts were the reality.
But when you finally get to the end of all those pieces, though, and you get up to the roof, totally worth it. Like, I thought it was just kind of a lot of irritating. Walk here, talk to this person forever. Walk here, talk to this person forever. Let me get back to the game. But man, does it pay off.
Man, I really enjoyed the whole asylum parts, even though there was no action. It was just walking and talking. But what they did with everyone, I guess what I enjoyed was seeing how they reincorporated the characters from the game into the asylum.
Yes.
And they gave everyone sort of a different...
It's cooler to me on paper than it was in the game. Because I feel like BioShock Infinite did that stuff better. So, like, I've seen all these other games do it better after this came out, and now this one's kind of suffering for it, which is not its fault, but...
Yeah. That's my mistake. I, for some reason, completely forgot about that second asylum scene because I knew there was one when you fell off the cross and you went back into the asylum. I completely forgot about the one between when you get shot in the face and you wake up 4 days later. I just blanked on that somehow. So that's my mistake.
I thoroughly enjoyed the shooting in the face part. When you come back and they're talking about how obliterated you were and how long it took you to get put back together.
Yeah. But like the fact that like you got shot in the face with a shotgun and you're still moving. Like you're up and running 4 days later. So
we touched on the asylum. So I guess Hannah doesn't know about the choice you have to make at the end of the asylum piece.
Yeah. Hannah, I mean, I feel like we should talk about it for the cast, but that's going to spoil you.
Spoilers don't bother me. Go ahead.
You go back there for a third time, and each time you go to the asylum, it gets progressively more like they're trying to convince you that you're crazy and that you're just imagining that you're a mob boss with these demon powers and stuff. And what's cool is they put comic books of the darkness. Like the real comic is in your room, so it's like, oh, well, maybe that's where I'm getting this all from.
That's pretty good. I like that.
I just thought they did an excellent job of making it plausible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you have been totally shocked and out, if the reality had turned out to be that you were in an asylum and you were just hallucinating all this?
No,
I would have been pretty surprised. But
see, I wouldn't have. I never at any point bought into that being the ending.
No.
But they did such a good job, I thought, of setting that possibility up that I wouldn't have been totally shocked if that's the direction they took.
Well, they basically, I think it's 3 times that you go there, and it sort of ramps up in the sort of them trying to convince you, and then Jenny's trying to convince you that, look, this isn't what you think you're doing isn't real, and I'm trying to help you, and please just stay here with us and take your meds, and then we can be together, but not be together because they sort of set it up that you're just obsessed with Jenny, who's your doctor, and she's just there in a doctor-patient capacity. Yeah,
she's the nurse there.
Hello, nurse.
Nurse Jenny.
Indeed.
So, I love the fact that they incorporated the monkey, not the monkey. They incorporated the Darkling character as the janitor.
He's the janitor.
And he calls you monkey, and it was at that moment I think that it cemented for me that this is not the direction they're going to take. Yeah. This is going to be the fake scenario, so to speak.
Yeah, he helps you escape up to the roof.
Nice.
And Jenny and the big bad, who's supposed to be, I guess, the head doctor, and I think somebody else are up on the roof. And it does the Vanilla Sky thing, where you have to decide. Jenny's trying to convince you to come back inside because you're going to jump off the roof.
Yeah.
And you have to decide whether to jump or go back to Jenny. And if you choose to go back to Jenny, that's the end of the game.
Ooh, wow.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you make that decision?
No, but I looked it up on YouTube.
Okay.
Nice.
I didn't either. I jumped. Because I figured that's what they wanted you to do, right? Mm-hmm. They wanted you to jump. But then tell me, Jay-Z, didn't you think you had made the wrong decision?
Not for a second.
Really?
Oh, come on.
Not for a second. I've seen too many movies to know what that's setting up, and I know that these guys who are making this game aren't going to have an ending that hacky that it's, you dreamed the whole thing. Like, there's no way they're going to end it that way.
But I'm telling you, when I jumped off the building and it went to black, and the way it cycled around made me think that it was going to reload from a checkpoint.
Oh,
really? I was going to have to make a different decision. It had me convinced.
What did you play on, Scott?
The 360.
I played it on the PC, and the loading time was so quick that I didn't even have time to consider that. So I'll bet that was...
Oh, you may have gotten hosed then, in a sense.
I couldn't have been more sure.
Okay, because for me, that wasn't an instantaneous thing. It wasn't even like a 2-second delay. It took many, maybe 30 seconds to get from the time that I jumped off the building to the time that it loaded in that last level.
It's a long time to think about that.
It's not just a black screen. It's doing its things, and it's looking to me like it's going to reload a checkpoint.
Yeah.
And say, all right, you got to make another decision.
Maybe don't jump off the roof, dummy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what And here I am, though, still playing into this sort of. I wasn't nearly as sure, I guess, as you were, Jay-Z, that the asylum scenario wasn't some sort of reality. So I was still thinking that there was a possibility that that could be the case. And me jumping off the roof was the wrong decision because it actually killed me.
See, the only reason I was convinced that the asylum scenario isn't that's not true is just because I played the first game. Like, 'cause it's like, well, no, Jenny existed, unless the first game was a hallucination too, you know?
What a twist!
Yeah.
I could have seen them doing something along the lines of, okay, the first game was canon or real.
Yeah.
And then even the first little bit of the second game is canon, but then at some point they reveal to you that you sort of split from reality. Like maybe your Aunt Sarah's death or something caused you to split from reality or something like that, right? And then building this whole storyline around. Now I'm just fantasy booking the game, but
yeah, I can see that.
But I wasn't nearly as sure, Jay-Z, as you were, that the asylum stuff wasn't in some way some reality.
Which is weird because I usually will, in movies and TV shows and games, I fall for whatever they're trying to get me to believe, hook, line, and sinker, every time. And this one, I just was like, nope.
Yeah.
But I guess it was a case maybe of thinking too much about it because it is a little beat over your head that this is supposed to be real, which makes it feel less real. But then I thought maybe that's what they were going for, to make you feel less real so that it is real.
It's a double red herring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, you jump off the roof and you end up in hell.
Like you do.
No. Well,
right?
Yes and no. You jump off the roof and that's when you wake back up, I think. And then you have to go get the scepter or the
siphon.
Catalyst? The siphon.
Oh, really?
And the siphon of Angelus, I believe.
You commit suicide with the siphon.
That's right.
To get yourself actually into hell to go save Jenny.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happens. Yeah.
Did you see the ending after the credits, Scott?
Yes, I did.
I literally, and I realized I was doing it as I was doing it. What am I? I literally was scratching my head at the ending. Do you have any idea what happened there?
Okay, so this is what I pieced together. For this Hannah's sake.
Yeah.
You end up. We maybe should piece together the final little bit of the game here. So you do end up in hell, and you're tracking down Jenny, and the darkness has her pinned, crucified style.
Yeah.
On some altar type of thing.
Mm-hmm. That was a really cool sequence, trying to break those chains, and she go up the elevator and stuff. That was cool.
So your Jenny's kind of like dressed in white rags, more or less.
Yeah.
And you end up freeing her from the darkness, which brings me to a point I was going to discuss. The game ends very abruptly. There is no boss fight. There is no final crescendo. You free Jenny, and that's basically the end of the game.
Oh, wow.
She hops down, you kiss her, again in a weirdly first-person way. And then the credits roll. And it's like...
she's standing there with you, leaning up against you, and because it's something like, I gotta go now because she's gonna go to heaven, and the game will sit there having her lean against you for as long as you want until you hit the button, because the idea is supposed to be, this is going to be the last time we see each other, so let's enjoy it while we have it. And much like To Kill a Mockingbird in the first one, you can just let it sit there and come back 7 hours later. I'm sure it'll still be doing it.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. I like that.
So here's the weird thing, though. We didn't maybe set this up the best way possible either, because we didn't get into the lore of the darkness and the Angelus. But you end up watching the credits, and then after the credits there's another scene which picks up right where the game ended, quote unquote. And it's, what does Jenny do? She
grows horns,
exactly how
giant
she
golden horns.
She basically
Melina bandages from Mortal Kombat sort of become this armor, this golden white armor, and her eyes start to glow green, and she pulls out some sort of giant scary sword.
So awesome. The way I interpreted this is that she turned into the Angelus.
Yeah.
and that she then ascends into
And left him in
something
hell.
else, heaven, and left Jackie in hell. Yes.
What I mean, I get what happened, but for those characters, or for that character, what kind of U-turn is that? Like, what?
Well, yeah, that's out of nowhere.
And she knew this the whole time? Or wait, what? It was goofy.
No. Now that we're talking about it, it makes less sense. When it happened, I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But now that you're discussing it, I'm starting to see that maybe it is not so cool.
So
it was a twist for the sake of being a twist, I think. But
yeah.
sorry,
so,
go ahead.
So what it sounds like to me is Jackie is the host of the Darkness, which is a sort of not all powerful, but like ancient just force of malevolence, just this generic evil that has the ability to control, but can also be controlled in certain ways. And the Angelus is the exact opposite of it. It is a
Right.
force of pure light, and it can do. It seems like it's similar to the Darkness, except that it craves order instead of chaos.
And they make that much clear.
Yeah.
It's so.
But
it's
like
such
for
a
Jenny,
dramatic turn, and it's after the credits.
Yeah.
It's like,
It is very strange. It's almost as if it's setting up another game,
which
exactly,
it definitely
which will
isn't.
never happen.
Yeah.
which isn't going to get made, unfortunately. But that's the feel.
It'll
is
be
that
an iOS game.
Oh.
They make a
boo.
twist here, and then that's supposed to lead us into a third one.
Yeah.
I can't explain why it happened. I can't explain.
It happened because they wanted that's so badass ending, and it was.
There,
Yeah.
but I guess the reason maybe I didn't have such a problem with it is during the game. This maybe brings up another point I was going to discuss. One of the awesome things that you can do is when you're collecting these collectibles called relics throughout the game.
Those are cool.
Is go to your mansion and listen to Johnny talk about them.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And that discussion is so amazing. And I guess one of the slight negatives I had is there's no check mark, there's no acknowledgement that you've listened to them.
Yeah.
So then I ended up collecting a bunch, listening to a few, going and playing the game some more, coming back and not remembering which ones I've done.
Mm.
So it bugged me a lot that I couldn't in some way say I've listened to this one already or you've heard this story.
Yeah.
But during all of that relic collecting, you're getting a lot of this Angela's backstory.
Yeah.
And it was readily apparent to me during all of that backstory that Johnny is in his brilliant way reciting to you that the darkness was obviously in Jackie, but that the Angelus was going to have to be Jenny.
Okay.
It just was that obvious to me.
I might have to go back and collect a bunch of relics and listen to all that stuff. That was one of the high points of this game was it didn't shove the lore down your throat, but if you wanted to, you could really go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, and the way they presented it too.
Yeah.
With Johnny, using Johnny to give you these stories, I think made the stories better.
Yeah.
Because his retelling is so good.
And it wasn't, here's a 14-page book.
Or here's an audio log.
Well, they're kind of audio logs, which
But-
bugged me, but no.
But it's presented in a much nicer format than just, oh, look, you found a tape recorder for some reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like the
The only
central
thing-
hub way of it,
The only thing I could have seen as an improvement is giving you some sort of animation to go along with his reciting of it.
Yeah.
Because you really don't have much to do when you're listening to him talk. You really are just looking at a screen with text on it and an object.
Like
and there's
with
nothing really going on.
With Brutal Legend, with all those cutscenes, like even if they're just stills, yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a beef with, and maybe this is just me, or maybe it's because I wasn't expecting it. I don't mind long cutscenes. I don't mind a lot of not narration, exposition. I don't mind that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they had to do it for certain effects, like when you're in the restaurant or whatever. I just have, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I was really irritated with all the, here's a big long cutscene, but we're also going to lock your camera. Even though you're in first person, we're going to lock your camera to the face of whoever's talking or your chair or whatever.
Yeah. They sort of did
bug
the
me.
Oblivion thing. Like it didn't do like the stiff. You're now a corpse, like standing in front of the dude who you're talking to. But it did that Oblivion thing where it does lock you into this is who you're talking to.
And the only way to get out of it is to miss what they're going to say, which I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But this is weird, and I don't like it. Those were my major beefs with the game. Aside from glitches, which I'll get to later.
Yeah, that is my only major beef with the game so far, other than some of the stuff you guys mentioned. Is I had a number of glitches where the Darkling would get caught on like an environment and couldn't get to what he was trying to get to help me finish like a level or whatever, and I would just have to restart from checkpoint like 2 or 3 times because he would keep getting stuck on stuff. Yeah.
You guys on PC? Both?
Yep. Yeah, might just be PC.
Then it's got to be a PC thing. I didn't have any hitches.
Yeah, I had a couple of weird glitches. I had one where I was in the middle of an execution, but there was a dude trying to like come up to me and attack me, but it did it in such a way that like it completely threw me out of the game because the guy kept getting closer and closer when logically like he literally could not be any closer to me than he already had been. He literally filled the screen, and you could see me like taking apart this dude on top of a background of next bad guy's chest.
Weird.
Yeah, it was
That's
super
gotta
weird.
be a PC thing.
Yeah. So I think that's all we've got for negatives. What could have been better? You guys got anything else?
Yeah, I just want to hit one more on the. I get that part of the joke of the Darkness is that these guys are the stereotypical Italian mobster.
Yeah.
I get that. The fact that they translated that to the multiplayer and made everyone really stereotypical is. I get the joke they were trying to make, but it still felt really offensive because there's an Irish guy.
Of course there is.
You can guess, and they all have descriptions.
Of course they do.
There is African American guy who was a doctor, decided to become a voodoo doctor. Really, guys?
At least they went in a different direction with the racism on that one.
I guess there's the Jewish chick with the Star of David in her logo. There's the Asian guy who, of course, has the samurai sword and the Yakuza getup. Come on, guys. But anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on that.
Yeah.
But those are my beefs.
I got a couple other things I was going to mention. One was I felt like an idiot after a discussion I had with Knobs.
Yeah.
It was a level on the rooftop, and I was trying to get to a relic that was kind of off the map, so to speak, because there's very much a defined play area.
Oh, I know where this is going.
So there's a relic that's off the map, and I spent a embarrassingly long amount of time jumping on top of things, trying to get onto a roof, trying to get outside of the playing area to get to this relic. And I finally just gave up and said, well, I'm not getting that one. I'll have to come back some other time. So then I'm discussing this with Knobs, and I mentioned, I had this situation. And he goes, why didn't you just grab it? And I go, because I never thought of that. And there were so many moments in this game where I'd almost forgotten that, I can reach out and grab stuff.
Yeah, you got a giant demon arm hanging up over your left shoulder that you can just snatch stuff up with.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, to be fair, it's not very clear that you can grab relics with it. It doesn't give the little yellow point in the center that it does for everything else.
It doesn't reinforce that either. Yeah.
I did it by accident on the first one I came across. And I was that's just what you do then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I never would have got it.
Yeah, so that's...
I mean, it's strange, though. I knew I could pick things up like ammunition and objects, and I even knew I could pick relics up at that point. My brain just had a disconnect when I was there. I was like, I can't get over there to that fire escape. And it was almost, I'm going to blame it on the map in a sense, because it kind of led me to believe that I should be able to get onto the roof and then walk down the fire escape.
Yeah.
I almost think if there hadn't been a fire escape, if it had been like on a ledge or on a window, my brain may have said, you can't walk over there. You got to grab it.
Yeah.
Did those relic sites remind you guys of Dishonored at all?
Haven't played Dishonored.
Didn't play enough of it to say yes or no on that. I get where you're coming from, though.
The weird shrines that you found the secret stuff in? I don't know.
Yeah.
So the other nice touch that this game did that I haven't seen any other game really do is that when you're walking around, like especially in the mansion,
Mhm.
and you go up to someone, it tells you their name in the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
So convenient.
I want that in real
So
life.
nice. Yeah.
Hello, my name is.
Yeah, that would be
I
sweet.
wish more games would do that because I can't keep everybody straight.
Well,
And it's nice
especially
to have that little reminder.
Especially there, because you've got like a Vinny and a Johnny, and it's like, okay, which one are you? Are you Vinny? Are you Johnny? Are you Jimmy? Which one are you? You're something
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
The only one I remembered constantly was Jimmy the Grape, because let's face it, he looked like a grape.
He was wearing a
Oh,
purple suit.
Yep.
Dressed him in a purple suit. That was
It really
great.
should have been Jimmy the Raisin, but whatever.
And put him in some sunglasses.
He's old.
So we didn't mention the butcher either. Did you guys come across him?
Oh yeah, he was cool. You come across him. He helps you get out of the restaurant at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, the dude with the beard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He shows up again later after the mansion. So
Mhm.
after the slaughter at the mansion, did
Yeah.
you guys come across him in the bathroom?
No, I can't. I remember getting out of the one area.
Do you not? Skype
I
froze
believe
up
I
again.
did.
No, I didn't come across him again.
So he's in the mansion in sort of one of the interior bathrooms, and he has body parts in the toilet, and he's plunging the toilet. And then he has
Oh.
a short little conversation with you about all the work that needs done or something.
That's beautiful.
I
thought it
remembered
was
he was
great.
I remembered he was cleaning up. I didn't see that he was trying to stuff bodies down the toilet.
That is
Yes, yeah, he's trying
beautiful.
to flush body parts.
Oh God, I gotta go back and find that. That sounds fantastic. Because I was wondering what happened to all the bodies. Like, oh, it's only been 4 days. Like, yeah, there's still bloodstains around the mansion and stuff. What did they do with all the bodies? Figured maybe they just had a dump site, but no, that sounds way better. Oh God,
Well,
that's beautiful.
they don't have a boat, so it's not like they can go the Dexter route. So they got to get it to the ocean somehow.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think that's it for negatives. And now we're on to
Yeah,
great
easily.
lines, good moments, or good lines, great moments. You know, what did you get? What were some of your favorite moments?
I like that the Darkling will, and I'm not sure if I can use this word, so I will just say,
Yeah.
urinate on your dead
Yeah.
enemies' corpses.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
that's fun.
The Darkling in general.
the Darkling was really a highlight.
Well, yeah, and actually, all three of my things are all about the Darkling. One is that he was the janitor, which Scott mentioned. But when he's getting you out of the asylum, he's like, "Oh, we go get out here. We're all brown bread." And I was kind of hoping Moon would be on tonight because I have no idea what brown bread is.
Actually, I had it when I went to Ireland earlier this year. It's literally just bread that is brown.
Yeah, but it was clearly not a euphemism, maybe a colloquialism.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what it was. And I was like, because he's already this really dirty, foul character. I was like, is he making a poop joke?
I certainly hope not.
So we have to follow up with Moon on that and find out what that means.
Sounds good to me. I think one of my favorite, and it was really just a series of moments, the loading screen cutscenes where it's just Jackie sitting in the chair talking.
Oh yeah.
I
What is he
love
supposed
those.
to be for those?
He's just, they did that in the first one too, where he was literally just in the dark with a spotlight talking, monologuing. I like to believe he eventually gets out of all this and has a one-man show. And that's just clips from that.
Jeez. Jay-Z, didn't they break that? I remember.
He got out of the chair and walked away towards the end of
I
the
remember
game.
at the end of the
But
game, though,
they
right?
didn't
Isn't
show him
there
walking
s-
anywhere. He just walked off frame.
Okay. Okay.
It seemed like he was just in a room somewhere, you know?
I wanna say that-
monologues.
I want to say that somebody like opened a door. I had
Oh,
this
weird.
memory that he got interrupted during the little monologue that he was giving.
Maybe it's like the real world house booth, like where they're
Yeah.
recording like their views or something. Who knows?
Or like in Dead Set, yeah.
No, I really like those because it gives you a lot of backstory on Jackie and Jenny, and they're so good at filling in the gaps in this game. Like, for all intents and purposes, there's a lot of story that could have been told. They could have expanded the amount of gameplay by, X amount of hours, having even more flashbacks and things like that. But I think something just as simple as Jackie telling stories between levels and while it's loading is engaging enough for the minor moments.
It would not have made the game better
No,
to have
absolutely not.
expanded it.
No.
Well, I think the way they framed it really helps that. Because, I mean, yes, it is, from a writing perspective, it is absolute just straight exposition,
Yeah.
which is usually really boring. But just the way they had it set up, and the camera was doing this slow sort of pivot around him,
Yeah.
and it's just the models were really good in this game. The lip syncing was weird, but the models themselves were really awesome. So it really gave you a chance to kind of look at, like, this is who I am, this is what I look like, this is the guy I'm playing. So it was still visually interesting, even though he was monologuing.
No, I totally agree. It was just that like really brought me into it. It sort of led you into the next level with something interesting.
And it did feel like a needed break between mayhem. And it's like, all right, now here's just this character. Well, Skyrim kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
Where it had sort of the spinning character models on the loading screens, and it was really cool. It lets you look at the models they put all this work into.
Yeah. Scott, anything to add to that?
We've covered a great deal. I enjoyed the Darkling sections where you played as the Darkling.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I did not love those.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan.
I wouldn't use the word love, but I liked them.
It's an interesting
I thought
way
it
to approach it.
switched the gameplay a little bit. I don't think it was as fleshed out. It didn't feel as fleshed out as the rest of the game.
Well, it felt like they were... That was part of the design document. It was like, okay, where's our stealth? We got to have stealth sections.
Yeah.
And
I didn't play it so stealthy,
pausing here because Skype's been slipping up, so I'm sorry if there's weird, awkward pauses.
Yeah, this is going to be a nightmare to listen back to, probably.
Yeah. I'll have to figure that one out in post.
But I didn't play it so stealthy. As much, I played it a little more. I guess what I'm saying is I could have seen that section, the Darkling sections, turn into more of a puzzle.
Yes.
Because you had to stay out of the light and things like that. I think that they had taken it that route and made it more puzzly.
I think they could have done that, but at the same time, it would have also made it even more stealth-like. I would have loved to see, like, going in the opposite direction and just making it, like, not even a puzzle, but just, like, full-on stealth mission. Like, okay, you kill this guy, dude in the next room hears him drop, comes running. Now you can go in the next room and do what you need to do and get out of there in X amount of time. Just make it a little more tense than it was, because it was really just like, this is just kind of inconvenient.
The nicest thing I can say about them is they did not last very long.
Yes.
No, that's true. They didn't overstay their welcome, which is a really good thing, because they weren't great. Again, they were really good. Just a
good.
Really good average.
They're just good. Yeah.
The other thing we haven't mentioned so far that I really enjoyed was is it a brothel that we went into?
Sure, we'll call it that. It was a little darker than that, but we'll call it that.
Yes, we met up with Venus.
The atmosphere in that
Super
whole
creepy.
super creepy. Walking through that building and hearing the goings-ons in the rooms and stuff. I just thought they did an excellent job of building that atmosphere. And then when it all burns down and you're running out, I thought that was great too.
Yeah.
A very different sort of tone than Saints Row the Third. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Similar sort of thing, but very different tone.
Much darker. I loved that, like, you're not getting on, like, you're getting on, like, a freight elevator with, like, half mannequins and just stuff everywhere, and it's just...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about all the stuff upstairs. That was weird.
Yep. Yeah. And, oh, God, just everything... Ugh. That whole place just made me feel like I don't want to be here.
That's it.
Yeah. So, any particularly good lines? Just everything that came out of the Darkling's face was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I really didn't have a bunch to say about that.
Yeah, there's no specific.
It was great.
Yeah, there's no like specific lines. Just really good voice acting, like between like Jackie's monologues and Johnny's stories and the
darkness.
Yeah, and the darkness just being the darkness and being crazy and just out of its mind.
I did really enjoy when the darkness would talk to you and the screen would sort of fade blacky.
Your vision would all the blood would pulse into your eyes and yeah.
It always worried me because it would happen in the middle of fights and I was like, oh God, am I dying?
Yeah, right.
Because, normally when the screen goes red, you're about, that close to death. So...
Yeah, it was cool. All the voice acting was great.
Yeah, I think...
Good soundtrack choices, from what I remember. I don't remember any specifics, but I remember hearing songs going, that was a really good choice here.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing really stood out as far as soundtrack. It worked. It didn't get in the way. It wasn't offensively bad, but it wasn't like, oh, yeah, that's really good.
Well, the one that comes to mind, probably because I just watched it before the show, was when I watched the other ending, if you decide to go back into the asylum with Jenny.
Yeah.
You guys are slow dancing. The game ends with you slow dancing in the sort of that main room where the piano is and everything.
Yeah.
And it's playing I Only Have Eyes for You.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
If that wasn't the worst ending that could ever happen for everyone, since Jenny stays in hell and you never wake up, that would seem really fitting. But it fit the scene well. But
nice.
Yeah, aside from that, the best thing it did was just not get in its own way.
Yeah. So any major glitches or funny moments that you guys encountered?
Jenny has a lazy eye.
Really? Did you get a screenshot of that?
Didn't notice that.
I probably should have, but I didn't think of it until like the last time you see her.
Oh, okay. Is that a glitch or is that just a character flaw?
Well, I suppose that's up for debate. She does have a lip ring, so maybe that's to draw attention away from it. I don't know. I don't know the character real well. I didn't investigate all the relics. I don't know. Maybe it mentions one of those. I think it was just maybe they couldn't quite figure out how to point her eyes so they would focus on the same thing, and they just went, we'll just go with this one.
It's kind of cute.
It's subtle. But yeah, she totally, her left eye is not looking where it's supposed to be.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Aside from that, I mean, I had to restart 3 times because triggers were supposed to go off that didn't trigger.
I think I had something like that. Like you're supposed to hit a certain spot, and it just doesn't happen.
Well, like when you're trying to break back into the mansion or the penthouse.
Yeah.
You know how when you climb up the stairs and you go through the courtyards and you get to, I think it's the bar.
Okay.
And that God, I forget the name of the quote unquote bad guys who were supposed to be good guys, acolytes or something.
The Brotherhood.
Yeah. One of those comes bashing out the door and attacks you, and that's how you get into the bar. Well, if that never happens, you just have to run around for 35 minutes wondering what you missed, and then spend another 15 minutes looking up runs on YouTube, and really all you had to do was just restart from checkpoint and spend 2 minutes.
I had a similar situation in the graveyard when I first did it, because of the way they lead you up to the group of guys and that whole situation, you sort of cut alongside, and I must have missed whatever like arbitrary geometry I was supposed to cross to trigger the event of like everyone talking to me. Everyone, like, I would go up to everybody. I couldn't talk to anybody. It was just like they were all looking at me like, "Why are you here?"
It's your aunt's funeral, and everyone's just staring at you silently with contempt.
Who are you?
I didn't do this, guys. What the hell?
I eventually just went back out and like came up the path and came up like the way you'd think you'd come up instead of like cutting across graves and grass. And it triggered finally. I was like, "Oh, good! It was a glitch. I wasn't going crazy. Awesome."
Maybe they just thought you were being super disrespectful by walking on graves.
and there's just a timer on that.
Until you decide to act like a human being, we are not going to speak to you, Jackie Estacado.
That's awesome.
Now get up there and drag your aunt off her corpse pillar.
Yeah, those were, other than the one I discussed earlier where the dude was way bigger than he needed to be, that I didn't encounter a ton of glitches, but it was more than usual. I think I actually encountered more glitches in this game than I ever have in Alpha Protocol. So,
did you have any weird field of view problems?
I think the one where the guy got way too close to the camera may have been a field of view issue.
Well, because like you know how it would go blurry when you got in the light or something like that, or if you were aiming at somebody.
Yeah.
Mine would just stay that way until the next loading screen.
That sucks.
So now you're playing on what is basically like 640 by 480 until the next loading screen.
Oh.
And that happened the whole game. And I'm sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off.
The lesson here is don't play on the PC.
No, that's not the lesson. The lesson is find all the patches and fixes for the PC and then play on the PC.
Sorry.
Or just buy a disc on the 360.
No, you will edit any files. That's going to happen.
Well, that's part of being on the master race.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that pretty much covers it for the Darkness 2. I think I really feel like this was probably one of the most solid choices for Game Club because it fits the bill so well, and nobody played it.
Nobody played it.
Come on, people.
What's wrong with you people?
Come on, guys.
This is the whole point of this, is that you take a game that you're not interested in playing and play it.
Yep.
It's
For like
basically-
$5 too.
It's peer pressure to play something you might like. Like, I just started Costume Quest. I didn't think I was going to like that at all. And then I was like, oh, this is Penny Arcade Precipice of Darkness. I'll play this.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Are you playing the first one or the second one?
I'm playing the first one just because if I jump into the second one, I know I'll never play the first one.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just knocked
stuff.
down a wall with roller skates.
Yeah, that's a good game. I think I might play that on 360. But yeah, I think that that just about covers it for the Darkness. I mean, if you have any further thoughts on it, feel free to post them in the forums. We're going to start voting on the next Game Club game here in probably a couple days. I'll probably put that up for Sunday when we record TVGP, the main show.
You're telling me democracy is back?
Yeah, we're going to return to democracy.
Turkey-related games, I think we decided before we started the cast.
Yeah, turkey-related games.
Theming bonus.
The theme for November.
You know what? I'll try and find some. There is actually a Thanksgiving-themed horror movie, Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
make it through the first 10 minutes of that movie.
Really?
And I thoroughly enjoy terrible movies.
I just recently sat down and watched Two-Headed Shark Attack, so I can get behind a terrible movie.
What, two-headed
this-
shark? Is that like a shark with a head on both ends, or both heads are on the front?
Oh no, they're both on the front. They're sort of like, have you been watching American Horror Story Freak Show?
You cut out there.
Have you been watching American Horror Story Freak Show?
I started watching the first 3 or 4 episodes of the first season. I was like, this
Okay.
dude is getting it on with an old chick ghost. I'm gonna pass.
So there's a two-headed chicken. It's literally like a two-headed shark. Like the front of the shark has 2 faces, and somehow that doesn't impede it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's a terrible movie. So, JZ, you got anything to plug?
I would like to plug my YouTube channel that actually now has videos going back up on it. There will be lots and lots of Binding of Isaac Rebirth videos going up.
Oh yeah, they just put YouTube into the PSN, right? You can actually share stuff out.
It's on there. I will actually own it on 2 systems on day 1.
Nice.
I'll probably be recording from my PC just because it'll sound a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the YouTube functionality is supposed to be on the PS4 now.
Yeah,
So,
it's exciting.
so I'm the other JZ on there, the other letter J and then ZEE, and same on Twitter. So check me out, bitches.
Cool. Nintendork?
Nothing to plug, but you can find me about anywhere under the name Nintendork327.
Cool. And of course, I am the Hannah. You can find me on Twitter at the Hannah. You can find me on Twitch at the Hannah, and Hitbox, also the Hannah. And if you want to add me on anything else, you guessed it, it's the Hannah. So yeah, that's been TVGP Game Club Recap 21 for the Darkness 2, and we will see you all next month-ish.
Thanks, guys.
Later.